Hi guys, welcome to the channel. I'm so glad to have you back. Now the craft that I'm DIY that I'm doing for you today, I've done versions of it here in the channel and it's fall time. Oh y'all, I was super excited when I ran across some dried flowers at Hobby Lobby. Yes, they were on sale. So I'm going to share with you what I did with the dried flowers in today's video. So are you a lover of old windows? You know these are salvage finds. They're sometimes a little bit worse for wear. They always need a little bit of help. And if you're lucky, they don't need to be reglazed. But I absolutely love old windows. And this old window with that chewed up piece from something is perfect for this project. And then I have another piece. It's not chewed up anywhere. It's just a nice window that has of course been overcaulked, has been sprayed on at one time, but one of the sides is natural, but that's okay because that natural wood a lot of times will bleed through my white paint. So this is another one that is perfect for the project for today's video. Though I don't have to worry about the wood bleeding through me painting the window, I do have to see if I can get that spray off of the window. So I'm just going to start off with some Dawn dish soap, some hot water. I'm just going to start wiping everything down. The spray, the overspray on the window, the glass itself should easily come off once it's been soaked just a little bit, or just with a metal scraper. But definitely want to get this window cleaned up. You know, these salvage finds are usually sitting in somebody's barn, their garage, their shed, outdoors, and they always need to be cleaned. So now I'm going to see if I can clean up some of this caulking that has been painted. That's not always an easy task. I'm going to try to make a little bit straighter lines because this part will be the front part. This is the part that you're going to see, which is usually the opposite way. But to put the dried flowers in this window, you want that depth of the back. So we're reversing the window, and this is going to be our front of our window. So I want to concentrate getting it all cleaned up as much as I possibly can. It is amazing what a little soap and water and some patience will do. So I am going to give it a fresh coat of paint. A lot of times these are double hung. There's two windows that slide in and out. So you'll have a lighter part, a darker part, unpainted part, an unfinished part. The edges are not usually painted. And I just plain and simply want it to be clean. So I'm going to take the time to tape off. And you don't have to tape off. You can go through the process of scraping it all off. You still have to end up scraping some off after taking the tape. But it just saves you a little bit of work, and I don't mind taping off. So I'm going to be using the color Parchment from Fusion Paint. Fusion is awesome. Primer, paint, and top coat all in one. You could only just like give it one coat, but some of the areas where it's raw wood, you'll be able to see that it's not covered completely. So after the first coat, I will go back in after that dries and put a second coat. It doesn't have to be complete cover because we're going to be distressing it. I just want it to be cleaned up. Now, the first time I did a dried flower window, I got inspiration from one that I thrifted at Goodwill, and it was just a single pane window. And those seem to be hard to come across, especially the smaller in size. So I'm like looking through my stash after I saw those dried flowers at Hobby Lobby, and you know they came home with me because I'm like, oh my gosh, they're on sale and they're so beautiful, and how long will they last? But can I do it on something that has the wood pieces in? Will we be able to see the flowers as much as you did on just a single pane? So I love testing out, trying new things always. So stay tuned. We're in the process. Now that my two coats of paint are dry, see how that just cleans it up, evens out that paint. I'm going back in with some 80 grit because I really do want it to be distressed. And Fusion paint is on there, y'all. It is on there. So you need a little bit tougher grit to get back down to that raw wood to make it look like it's been weathered and distressed. And I actually started this process on a Friday, did not get back to doing these until a Monday, so my tape had laid on there for a few days. I usually like to remove it as soon as I get it sanded. You know, it happens. But this is just 2-inch masking tape, nothing fancy. It's inexpensive compared to painter's tape. It's whatever tape you're comfortable with and what you want to spend your money on. But so now I just need to go back in, remove that tape, straighten up that line, and get that window cleaned up again. Now the first ones I did from Hobby Lobby, they were more of a natural muted tone, just some soft pinks and yellows and cream colors, but these are not. These are some amazing oranges and burgundies and browns, and we do have some yellow and pink in there, but oh, look at that yellow. Oh my gosh, just when I saw these, I could not help myself. They are just amazing colors. And then I also picked up a large bag of moss. I prefer it to be on the greener side if I can find it, and this bag was perfect. So now I'm going to get this window flipped around, make sure that I've got it as clean as I possibly can get because I'm going to start gluing on it. So one more little wipe down and we should be good to go. So to start building on the window, we're going to start off with the moss. The moss is just going to go a couple inches from the bottom. That's where the ends of the florals are going to kind of get tucked in. So these are nice big pieces of moss. So I'm just going to kind of play with it. You know, they just scoop it up and put it in a bag. So you kind of have to get your pieces out, see what works. Do like a little dry fitting. There was a pine cone in there. Hey, you know, just a little extra. I don't want it to be terribly like half of the window by any means up on that one window pane. I just want it to be along the bottom. So right now I'm just kind of dry fitting to see what pieces I have to work with. And when I have my pieces, I'm kind of going to push them up to the top. I'm going to take my air compressor, actually hold on to that moss and get some of that really little stuff that falls off of it. I probably should have shook it out before I was using it on the window, but you know, I just don't want all that little stuff floating around. So now it's time to hot glue it in place. Now I don't put the hot glue on the window. I put it about halfway on the wooden part. So I don't want it to be so close to the glass that you can see the hot glue. I'm really trying to hide the hot glue in the thought that it's just free floating in there. So, and then I'm just going to start piecing it all together, just working it down. And I thought, well, maybe this would be a little bit better of an angle for you all to see. It's so hard to film sometimes, y'all. Unless I had like the camera on the top of my head looking down. I'm sure there is quite a camera like that, but I'm probably not going to do it. I don't know if it'd fit over my hair. But anyway, so we're just going to keep gluing it in place. And as you see, I'm kind of squishing it down. I didn't want it to overpower and be your main focus. Of course, I want that floral, the dried floral, to be the main focus. So I'm just kind of squishing it in place, trying to make sure that everything is one solid piece. And you gotta love a cart on wheels. So I'll just kind of keep flipping it, flopping it, so hopefully that you're getting the best view that you possibly can. Now begins putting the little bunches of the flowers together. So I want some shorter ones to go towards that second window pane, and then some longer ones to go on the top window pane. And then I'm just going to be cutting my stems using some like wire nippers. I find that those work the best. And then just letting it fall to the floor, just like a project. It's kind of hard to hold on to the florals and cut and then grab the stems to put them into the trash. It's just going to be one of those messy jobs. So I'm kind of just laying out my idea of where I want everything to be. Then I'm going to use hot glue to glue them in place. So I'm going to put a lot of hot glue on the stem itself for those 4 pieces to glue together. And then hopefully enough that it will attach when I'm holding it to that moss. So I'm just making sure that everything is going to you know, I'm touching those stems to the bottom. That gives them a good foundation. And then I kind of thought that I needed to like glue a little bit on the cross beam there. I don't know if that's necessarily or not, because by the time I'm done, I'm not going to be able to put that much hot glue on there, or the backing's never going to fit. But you know, everything's a process when you're working on it. So I don't want it to be so perfect that it looks like my flowers are straight across. I want it to look like the way that the wildflowers would be growing. So I'm going to do a couple shorter. That way I'm going to fill in that bottom pane and the top pane. So with every dried flower bunch that I do, I'm going to do that same process where some are going to be taller and then some are going to be shorter to fill in this whole window pane. And then I'm just going to stagger them. I don't want them to be, like I said, straight across. I want them to be staggered so you get that fullness of all these beautiful poofs. I don't even know what these dried flowers are called. I am not a flower expert. I just bought them because I thought the colors were so pretty. So I picked out these dried because I knew that they kind of fanned out. They're larger. It would really be a background filler. So at first I thought, okay, well, I'll glue the whole thing on, but then I realized I probably should separate it from the stem itself and cut little individual pieces, because I really feel like that would give that fullness and I'd be able to get the most out of what I purchased. My final step for the dried is to add some more moss. Now, the first time I did this, I did not do this. I think that's what I felt like it needed a little bit more the first time I did this, and I thought, you know what, that's what it needed. It needed a little bit more moss peeking from behind the flowers that I laid. So I'm trying to keep this nice and thin because, of course, I'm going to be putting a back on this. So you don't want to layer up your flowers so much that they're too thick and that you're going to break the dried flowers. So after getting that moss all glued in place, I'm still going to put some masking tape because I want to take a peek from the front and see how I'm doing, to see if I need to add any more. Even though it's hot glued in, it's kind of just hanging out there, y'all. So, and then the masking tape didn't really want to stick to the window pane, the wood part itself, but that's okay. Then I just went ahead and took a staple gun and stapled it in place. You're not going to be able to see this tape, but at least it's going to hold it in place. My arm's not that long. I want to take a peek in to see what the front of this is looking like. Not only am I looking to see if I need to fill in some more flowers, I'm also looking for those spider webs, those cobwebs, those strings of glue. I want it to look like this is just in there free and there's nothing glued in place. And then the first time I did this project, I was able to have a piece of salvaged wood that was chippy and oh, it was just gorgeous, but I don't have that this time. So I have to create my own background. And so I'm going to go with some decoupage paper. So this is off of Zazzle. It is supposed to look like rusty, crusty, galvanized roofing material, but that corner where it's all the rustiness, I think goes perfectly as a background with the fall color theme that is going on in this window. And actually the colors remind me of the mid-century modern vibe, the MCM vibe going on with those colors. So, but you're not going to be able to see that paper's lighter on the one side. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a couple coats of the parchment so that paper really pops. So not that you're going to be able to see me painting on the Mod Podge since it's white and my background is white. To adhere the paper on, I'm just going to be using a layer of Mod Podge. I'm going to go ahead and mist my paper and then just very gingerly with a hope and a prayer get that on there. I never mind, you know, if there's a wrinkle here or there. I try my best to get it out. So wetting the paper helps, using a Saran Wrap ball just to help, you know, lay everything down. All you can do is try your best. It's that perfectly perfect of crafting, y'all. Plus, your main focus on this one is those flowers. This is just a background to make those flowers pop. Now I let my paper dry, and now I'm going back in and I find the easiest way to cut off that excess paper, especially when it's on a piece of wood and I'm just using some MDF board from Home Depot, is just some sandpaper. Look how easily that cuts it. So you're just going to have to wait for the reveal. I want to make sure that my paper is good and dry before, I don't want any moisture getting trapped in there. So now I did the same thing. I am going to clean up this lovely 4-paned window. Now I know there's all thinking that, okay, well, why didn't I just hot glue the florals and the moss onto the board? Yeah, you could do that, but I really, for me, I want to see the visual placement of it, what the window pane is going to look like. So I guess for me, it's kind of a control thing. You can definitely go ahead and mark out what your window pane is on the board after you get whatever board you're using. There's just multiple ways to do something, and we all just do what in our mind is comfortable for us. So now it's making the decision, which way do I want this window to hang? And this is perfect because of that chewed area. I don't know what the chewed area was, but yes. So when you have that depth of this side, that really helps for the florals to go in, especially this moss. Now, I will tell you that window took the whole bag of moss from Hobby Lobby. Did I use too much? I don't think so, but so off to Walmart I went to get some more moss. And of course, they didn't have the big bags. They only had small bags of moss. So this time I'm going to see if I can shake it out before I put it onto the window. You know, everything's a process. You think you have enough supplies and then you just don't. And this did not want to break apart, so I have to help it along by cutting it. So what do you say when you're just repeating the same process, but it is fun to, it's like painting. It's just fun to watch somebody do and just relaxing. So now, because my window is going the opposite way, I didn't want to put that like galvanized wood, but I do have this old chippy barn wood paper. No, it does not fill out this whole board, but I have multiple sheets, and you can order the paper bigger. This is just what I had in my stash. So I'm going to start off with centering this piece towards the top. I'm not, because I know I'm going to have to add some more of the pieces to the bottom, but that'll really be covered with the bottom of the moss and the bottom of the florals. So now on this one, because it's a dark already. I didn't feel the need to paint it white. I don't think that is going to make any difference as dark as, because this paper really has a lot of that red wood behind it. I have multiple pieces, so I'm going to try to match up the best that I can, flipping the paper around and butting it up to that dark area. So we're going to lay some Mod Podge down. As I said, I'm just going to try to hope that it lines up pretty well. Now for me, I'm going to go ahead and use the sandpaper to cut that edge off, just working in one direction, because I don't want the weight of the paper as it dries to pull the two pieces apart. I don't know about you, but I think that it matched up pretty darn well for the sides. Now the bottom, I'm going to try to match it up with that black seam, and is it going to be perfect? Probably not, but I know that most of it is going to be hidden behind the florals. As I said earlier in the video, I wanted to make sure that my paper was good and dry. I didn't want to lock any moisture in there. It's not airtight by any means, but yeah, so this is just MDF board that Chris pre-cut for me. He didn't do it on camera. He was sick the week that he cut it, and now I have the same sickness he has. If you heard my voice in the video, it's just like an upper respiratory allergy thing. So anyway, so let's get back on with this craft. So I'm just stapling this back on, which seems to be working perfectly. I'm not like trying to push down super hard or anything like that. Like, I don't want to break these dried flowers, and you all know that dried flowers are so fragile. Now we're going to use my go-to hanging system of the high hooks that I get off of Amazon. I just like that smaller little 6-inch ruler. That way I can measure down and then they're level on either side. And then I just use a 17 gauge wire because, you know, windows are heavy, window panes are heavy, the wood is heavy, and especially putting that piece of MDF board on there is heavy. So you want something substantial to hold this in place. So I sure hope you stay to the end of the video to see this one. So I just happened to pick this up at a recent auction. So it was a frame, and it was a frame with the backing on it. Oh my gosh, I wish they both would have had the oval glass and the backing. And I thought, oh my, what a beautiful burgundy background for these dried flowers. I don't need to make a background for this. I've got the glass. I've got the background, so let's put some of those beautiful florals in this. So now with this, the glass is that humped, it's that raised, it's that convex, concave type of glass. So you have to kind of stay in the middle area. So we're going to start off with just a little bit of moss. I'm just going to guesstimate where everything is going to flow, where the glass is going to touch, but this is not going to take much at all. Now, I will tell you that dried flowers are not cheap. 40% off, they were a good deal, but I feel like there was plenty of flowers. I could have gone crazy with the flowers in those windows, but the more you put in there, the more squashability and the possibility of breaking the dried flowers. I probably could do 4 more windows with the amount of flowers I have left, so it is a good investment. So now it's just time to play. I'm just trying to pick out some longer pieces of this moss, and this moss too is just that same pack that I got from Walmart. Now it's just time to play and let your imagination run wild. This is definitely a DIY craft that is a true one-of-a-kind art piece. To reproduce it would not be the easiest to have the exact same match, but to reproduce it and create your own original artwork, oh, is definitely doable. And maybe you have flowers and florals out in your yard that you dry and you could use your own. I mean, oh my gosh, the world would just, yes, oh my gosh, you so totally could do that if you had a wildflower field. I remember back in the day learning to work with dried flowers. A lady, Jane, she planted, grew, harvest, and we worked with all her dried flowers, and then we would go along the country roads and we'd find the dried flowers to do weddings. Oh my gosh, so it is totally doable. So the one thing with the back of these is there's no little hooks, there's no little nails, there's no little pins to keep that back on. So what you're going to have to do if you run across one of these like I did, is actually it gets glued back in place. So I'm going to do hot glue and then a little bit of CA glue to make sure that it permanently stays there. I did add this little decal because I felt like could have you brought it down a little bit more, but I think this sets it off beautifully. So thank you so much for watching today's video. Oh my goodness, yes, those dried flowers started my inspiration. And then I'm like, okay, I don't have something that's not a paned window. I wanted, when I did the first ones, they were all open pane. I'm like, I think I can make this work. I think I don't have an old rusty crusty board, but I got decoupage paper. We can all put this together, and then running across that frame at the latest auction, that was just dying for a little bit. That one will be up on eBay. I don't ship windows because that makes me too nervous about windows. Things can break. So anyway, I'll put I'll put the framed one up for auction on my eBay. You all are so kind in supporting our channel by just buying something off of eBay is huge. So thanks again for watching today's video. As always, you're part of our YouTube family. Thank you. And if you were a channel member, thank you again. Thank you for buying us a cup of coffee and getting us one step closer to getting Chris to be home full time. That is what that is for, to help me get Chris home full time, that we can afford. It's big when somebody works a 40-hour-week job and is the insurance person. So that's huge. That's huge. And that's why we started the other channel, The Journey. If you have not subscribed to that channel, what the heck are you waiting for? It's down in the description box. Hop over if you want to see the behind the scenes of those little tidbits of what a YouTuber does a day in the life, and just those odds and ends that you may not ever see on this channel. So thank you for being part of the YouTube family, and if you stayed to the end of this video, you like this kind of content, so hit that subscription button along with the notification bell so you know we've uploaded a new video, and we will see you next time, guys, and you can see what we're up to. Bye!